"You're not alone, Liam," Jasmine whispered, her voice cutting through the silence of the grand mansion hallway like a beacon, the polished oak floors reflecting the warm glow of recessed lights overhead as the young boy, clutching his sensory toy tightly, rocked slightly in his chair, eyes wide and unsure, while the distant hum of the city filtered in through the tall windows on the east wing, carrying with it a faint scent of rain and asphalt. Jasmine's footsteps silent yet deliberate as she approached, each careful step measuring the space between herself and him, her hand holding a folded blanket ready but not imposing, her brown eyes soft and focused, absorbing every small movement, every flicker of uncertainty that passed across his features, the soft blue of her uniform catching the light and framing her calm presence in stark contrast to the tension in the room. She crouched slowly, letting her height and posture convey safety rather than intrusion, her voice gentle but confident, guiding Liam to focus on his breathing while she demonstrated the motions with her own chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. The subtle scent of lavender wafting from a sachet in her pocket mingling with the faint metallic hum of the window locks and the smooth, clean aroma of polished wood. Edward Hawthorne paused at the top of the stairs, his tailored gray suit impeccably cut, hands gripping the railing, jaw tight, eyes scanning the scene with a mix of disbelief and cautious hope as he watched Jasmine maintain her presence, unwavering and patient, every gesture deliberate, the soft sound of her fingers brushing the blanket catching his attention, Liam's hands gradually unclenching from the toy as he mimicked her slow inhalations and exhalations, eyelids fluttering, tension in his shoulders easing in almost imperceptible increments, the chandeliers overhead casting fractured beams across the marble and wood, spotlighting the subtle shift from anxiety to tentative trust, the distant tick of the grandfather clock punctuating each careful movement, Jasmine's lips barely moving as she whispered encouragements, her eyes locked on Liam, reading the tiniest hints of recognition and comfort, and as Liam's gaze met hers, a fleeting smile broke through the apprehension, soft and fragile, like the first light of dawn. Edward's chest rose and fell more visibly now, the heat of emotion creeping into his stern posture, heartbeats echoing almost audibly in the quiet expanse. The room itself seeming to hold its breath, suspended between anticipation and realization. Jasmine shifted slightly, drawing the blanket around Liam's shoulders, her hands hovering, ensuring he felt the security of her presence without a word being spoken, the boy's fingers curling into the folds of the fabric as a tangible acknowledgement of connection, his small body gradually straightening, eyes tracing the soft curves of her uniform, the gentle sway of her movements, Edward's gaze softening, as he recognized the magnitude of a moment so simple yet profoundly affecting, the elegance of restraint and care in her actions resonating deeper than any words could, the soft click of the nearby elevator opening in the distance barely registering against the quiet intensity of the room, Jasmine's own breath steady, eyes warm, tracking each subtle shift in Liam's expression, a faint chuckle escaping from him as he repeated a word she spoke, an unsteady but growing syllable that mirrored her encouragement, and the weight of relief washing through Edward in waves, chest loosening, shoulders relaxing slightly, an almost imperceptible nod betraying the stirring of emotion he hadn't expected to feel, the light from the tall windows casting elongated shadows that intertwined with the soft reflections from the polished floor, creating a tapestry of calm and subtle wonder. The space between the boy and Jasmine shrinking not in proximity, but in trust, and though no words were exchanged. Beyond the gentle prompts and whispered reassurances, the atmosphere vibrated with an unspoken understanding, a bridge of empathy and care forming that Edward could see but not yet fully grasp, the moment stretching, delicate and fragile, each second weighted with significance, and as Jasmine tilted her head slightly, guiding Liam's hands to rest gently on the blanket, Edward's pulse quickened, a deep inhale marking the realization that sometimes the smallest gestures carry the greatest power. And the hallway seemed to echo with the quiet possibility of transformation, the scene freezing in that precise instant, a tableau of patience, kindness, and the stirring of hearts, leaving Edward poised at the threshold, eyes fixed, knowing that this was just the first spark of a story that would ripple far beyond the confines of this room. the gentle rise and fall of Liam's chest syncing almost imperceptibly with Jasmine's, the polished floor reflecting the chandelier in fractured patterns, shadows and light dancing across walls, creating a cinematic framing of trust being built, the soft whisper of her voice continuing to guide him through measured breaths, and Edward's lips pressing into a thin line, holding back emotion, witnessing the quiet miracle unfold, every micro-expression captured, every subtle shift in the boy's posture noted, the mansion enveloping them in a cocoon of anticipation, tension, and fragile hope, the warmth of the scene contrasting the cool light from outside, leaving viewers on the edge of understanding, hearts leaning forward, wanting to see what will come next. The soft ambient hum of the mansion filled the space as Jasmine Turner adjusted the blanket around Liam Parker, her hands precise but gentle, ensuring it rested comfortably across his shoulders without restricting his movement, the faint scent of lavender from her pocket continuing to drift subtly through the room, mingling with the clean aroma of polished wood and the lingering warmth of sunlight filtering through the tall east-facing windows, the glass catching fractured light and casting intricate patterns across the marble and hardwood floors, Liam's eyes tracing the shapes as he slowly leaned back into the chair, the tension in his small shoulders easing further with each controlled breath. Jasmine's voice remained calm, low, and steady, guiding him through each inhale and exhale as if the words themselves were carrying reassurance into the corners of the room. Edward Hawthorne remained at the top of the stairs, watching intently, the smooth gray fabric of his tailored suit, reflecting the soft light while his eyes softened, chest rising and falling with a rhythm that echoed the gradual easing of Liam's panic, every subtle shift in posture, every slight movement of fingers curling into the blanket, every flutter of eyelids was recorded in his mind, the mansion seeming to shrink around them as focus narrowed onto the quiet tableau unfolding below. Jasmine shifted slightly to the left, tilting her head and gesturing with her open palm for Liam to place his hands over the weighted blanket, the movement gentle, unhurried, yet carrying an undeniable authority, his fingers following the guide, fingertips brushing the textured fabric, a microcosm of trust forming in that small tactile interaction, the quiet ticking of a distant grandfather clock marking the passage of measured moments, the shadows in the room stretching longer as the sun moved westward, casting warm slants of light that danced across the walls and floor. Liam's lips parted slightly, a small exhale escaping as his gaze met Jasmine's, eyes wide but calmer, recognition flickering in a nascent smile. Edward's breath hitched slightly at the sight, his usually composed demeanor breaking in subtle ways as warmth spread through his chest, a sense of wonder and disbelief intertwining. Jasmine's brown eyes remained locked on Liam, catching each tiny sign of comprehension and comfort, the soft swish of her uniform as she leaned forward slightly to adjust the blanket, her hands hovering, careful not to startle him, the quiet assurance in her posture and gaze acting as an anchor in the room, the soft hum of the city beyond the tall windows fading into the background, leaving only the interplay of light, shadow, and subtle sound. Liam's small body relaxing further, the tension in his jaw softening as he mirrored Jasmine's slow breathing, the rise and fall of her chest a tangible rhythm he could follow. Edward's eyes never leaving the pair, a faint warmth of realization blooming within him, the significance of patience, kindness, and unspoken understanding evident in every nuanced gesture. Jasmine's subtle smile mirrored the boy's tentative expression, a gentle acknowledgement of progress. The room seemed to exhale collectively, light reflecting off polished surfaces and fractured chandeliers, creating a cinematic glow that accentuated every detail. From the way Liam's fingers pressed lightly against the blanket to the small incline of his shoulders in response to guidance, Edward shifted slightly on the stair, leaning forward with hands on the railing, observing with quiet awe, each second prolonging the delicate balance of trust and comfort that Jasmine had cultivated, the soft flutter of Liam's eyelids, the small inhale and exhale as he followed her cues, the subtle crease in his forehead easing, all formed a symphony of movement and stillness, of connection without words, of empathy transmitted through presence. The late afternoon light continued to drape warm tones across the room, highlighting the contours of Jasmine's focused expression and Liam's gradually calming form. Edward's own pulse aligning, in a way, with the rhythm of progress, a sense of anticipation building as the boy began to engage more, fingers tentatively exploring the weighted fabric, eyes flickering between Jasmine's hands and face, a quiet moment of learning and reassurance crystallizing. The mansion itself seemed to become a silent witness, walls and floors, reflecting a scene of patient care and emerging trust, the gentle whisper of Jasmine's instructions, the careful adjustment of Liam's position, the soft alignment of the blanket, and the muted echoes of movement across the polished wood all working together to form a sequence that felt suspended in time. Edward's lips pressed into a thin line as emotion rose quietly within him, his gaze flicking between the boy's subtle progress and Jasmine's unwavering support. The room a tapestry of light, shadow, breath, and unspoken understanding, a delicate interplay of patience and guidance creating a turning point, leaving a sense of quiet expectation that this moment, though small, might be the beginning of something profoundly transformative. The soft afternoon light shifted as Jasmine Turner guided Liam Parker to stand, her hands hovering just above his shoulders, allowing him to feel the security of her presence without imposing. The warm wooden floor beneath their feet absorbing the echo of each careful step, the faint hum of the mansion's heating system mixing with the distant sounds of traffic and birds outside, creating a layered background of calm and normalcy. Jasmine's voice gentle and deliberate, walking him through a series of slow, intentional movements, demonstrating the rhythm of deep breaths and the steady placement of hands, encouraging him to mirror her, to find the calm in his body. Liam's small frame responding subtly, shoulders dropping, chest rising and falling in a measured pattern, eyes beginning to focus on her steady hands rather than darting nervously around the room. The soft glow from the east-facing windows highlighting the curve of his cheek, the gentle rise of his chest, the faint tension in his hands easing as they followed the folds of the blanket. Edward Hawthorne shifted slightly at the top of the stairs, the muted gray of his suit blending with the shadows, his posture still rigid but attention unwavering, eyes flicking between Jasmine and Liam, noting the slow but undeniable progress, a warmth spreading across his chest, a mix of relief and awe as he realized the transformative effect of quiet, patient guidance. Jasmine tilted her head, eyes tracking the subtle signs of recognition, a flicker of a smile on Liam's lips as he whispered her name softly, the room seeming to expand around them, absorbing the light, the sounds, the tension melting into a fragile equilibrium, each movement of Liam's hands, each shift in weight, mirrored by Jasmine's subtle adjustments, guiding without touching, directing without force. The polished surfaces of the floors and window sills reflecting fractured light, adding depth and texture to the intimate space. The faint scent of lavender and clean wood mingling, calming the senses and framing the moment with an almost cinematic clarity. Liam's breathing deepened, a slight relaxation in his jaw, eyes meeting Jasmine's with a glimmer of trust, and in that instant Edward's stern expression softened, his gaze lingering on the interaction, a recognition of the care, the skill, and the patience required to reach this fragile moment of connection. Jasmine's posture remained attentive yet relaxed, a balance of control and empathy, the subtle shift of her weight as she adjusted to Liam's movement, signaling her awareness and presence. The light through the tall windows slanted further, casting elongated shadows that crisscrossed the room, creating visual depth, highlighting the boy's tentative progress and the gentle constancy of Jasmine's support. Edward's breathing slowed slightly, chest rising and falling in sync with the rhythm developing below, the quiet tick of the grandfather clock providing a metronome for the unfolding scene. Jasmine's hands moved in a near imperceptible gesture, demonstrating a pattern for Liam to follow, his fingers tracing along the folds of the blanket, responding with a tentative mimicry that signaled trust. The mansion's ambient sounds fading into the background as focus narrowed onto this intimate dance of guidance and compliance. The weight of the moment palpable in the still air, every micro-expression, every subtle change in posture, every soft inhale and exhale carrying significance. Edward's lips pressed together as he observed, the swelling of emotion restrained but unmistakable, the boy's eyes brightening, body loosening, a tangible sense of progress crystallizing. Jasmine shifted slightly, tilting her head, allowing her presence to anchor Liam, the soft cadence of her voice continuing to guide him, the polished floor reflecting light that danced across the scene, accentuating the slow rhythm of transformation. Liam's small body following the guidance instinctively now, shoulders relaxed further, hands resting lightly, fingers curling gently over the blanket as if testing the safety of this newfound control. Edward's gaze fixed, a slow smile forming as he recognized the quiet miracle taking place. The mansion's vast space now feeling intimate, wrapped around them in an aura of focus, calm, and emerging trust. Every detail from the texture of the blanket to the shimmer of the light across the floor reinforcing the cinematic intimacy of the moment. Jasmine's soft encouragement continued, measured and consistent, weaving patience and presence into every motion, while Liam's responses grew more confident, more connected, eyes lifting to meet hers. And in that silent exchange, Edward Hawthorne felt the first undeniable stirrings of hope, a recognition that sometimes the gentlest guidance and unwavering care could illuminate paths that no authority or power could force. The scene suspended in time, rich with anticipation, delicate progress, and the unspoken promise of transformation yet to come. The golden light of late afternoon slanted through the tall east-facing windows, casting long, intricate shadows across the polished hardwood floors and marble inlays as Jasmine Turner guided Liam Parker to a small seating area near the corner of the room, her hands hovering lightly over his shoulders to provide reassurance without intrusion. The soft scent of lavender from her pocket lingering in the air and blending with the faint aroma of clean wood and distant rain outside. Liam's fingers curling and uncurling over the weighted blanket as he mirrored her slow, deliberate breathing, the rise and fall of his chest beginning to synchronize subtly with hers, his wide eyes tracing the patterns of light across the room as if the shifting beams themselves were calming him. Edward Hawthorne remained at the top of the stairs, eyes fixed, body tense but attentive, noticing the smallest gestures, the subtle tilt of Jasmine's head, the delicate positioning of her hands, the way she leaned slightly forward without pressuring, the mansion's ambient noise fading into the background, replaced by the quiet rhythm of patience and presence. Jasmine's voice, low and steady, guided him through gentle prompts, her tone like a soft current carrying reassurance. "Watch my hands, Liam. See how they move slowly," she said, demonstrating the motion of placing his hands in a calm resting position over the blanket, his small frame following the motion, a tiny crease forming at the corner of his mouth as the first faint sign of comfort appeared. Edward's chest rose and fell more visibly now, a warmth spreading across his stern posture, the soft reflection of the chandelier's light on the polished floors creating fractured beams that danced across Liam's face and Jasmine's uniform, highlighting every nuanced expression, every small motion that communicated trust and comprehension. Jasmine shifted her weight slightly to adjust to Liam's movement, maintaining the rhythm she had established, her presence steady and confident, allowing him to feel safe while encouraging autonomy. Liam's lips parted as he let out a slow, controlled breath, shoulders relaxing further, the tension in his hands dissipating, eyes meeting Jasmine's with a fleeting glimmer of recognition. Edward felt the first deep stirrings of awe, the realization that observation alone could not convey the full impact of this quiet interaction. Jasmine moved with deliberate care, guiding Liam to lean back slightly, his hands resting lightly on the folds of the blanket, the soft touch of his fingertips on the fabric reflecting a growing trust. The mansion's shadows lengthening as the sun continued its descent, light and dark weaving together to frame the intimate moment. The faint ticking of the grandfather clock marking the passage of measured seconds, Jasmine's calm instructions flowing in synchrony with Liam's small movements, his breathing becoming steadier, lips curving ever so slightly, eyes brightening as a connection formed without a single word being spoken beyond gentle guidance. Edward's jaw relaxed, the warmth in his chest deepening, a subtle acknowledgement of the transformative effect of Jasmine's patience and presence. the light from the windows illuminating the gentle rise and fall of their chests, the quiet symmetry of their breathing, the polished floors reflecting fractured light across the room, creating an almost cinematic tableau, every subtle shift in posture, every delicate motion carrying significance, the mansion itself seeming to envelop them in stillness and focus. Jasmine's eyes glimmering with quiet satisfaction as she noticed Liam's increasing engagement, his body aligning more confidently with her guidance, small smiles flickering across his face, tiny movements of acknowledgement and trust building a bridge between the boy and the world around him. Edward's gaze softened, the subtle stirrings of hope and wonder evident in the lines of his face. The mansion quiet except for the soft breathing, the faint brush of fingertips on the blanket, the gentle guidance of Jasmine, and the slow, deliberate movement of Liam as he absorbed her instructions, light and shadow creating visual depth, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation, calm, and the delicate unfolding of trust. Every nuanced detail of the scene captured in a rhythmic harmony of observation and subtle action, the boy's growing confidence mirrored by Jasmine's steady presence. The mansion's expanse now feeling intimate, a cocoon for this delicate process of connection and reassurance, the sunlight shifting, painting the room in warm tones that highlighted each gesture, each expression, each inhale and exhale, the quiet power of patience, empathy, and unwavering guidance resonating throughout, leaving Edward poised at the stairwell, witnessing a gentle miracle in progress, the unspoken dialogue between Jasmine and Liam creating a rhythm that carried the weight of understanding, trust, and the first true stirrings of calm. The soft glow of the late afternoon sunlight streamed through the tall east-facing windows, illuminating the delicate movements of Jasmine Turner as she knelt beside Liam Parker, her hands hovering just above his small shoulders, a reassuring presence rather than a touch. The mansion around them falling into a hushed reverence, polished hardwood floors reflecting fractured light patterns from the chandelier above, the faint scent of lavender lingering in the air mingling with the warmth of clean wood and subtle hints of rain from the city beyond. Liam's eyes followed her motions, a small hand gently curling over the folds of the weighted blanket, breaths deepening in measured rhythm, his wide eyes shifting from the pattern of sunlight on the floor to the steady gaze of Jasmine, every micro-movement in his posture signaling a tentative trust forming. Edward Hawthorne remained at the top of the stairs, suit crisp, hands gripping the railing, body tense yet attentive, noticing each small gesture, the rise and fall of Liam's chest in synchrony with Jasmine's guiding breath, the subtle movement of her fingers demonstrating a pattern for him to follow, a soft cadence that carried reassurance, patience, and focus. The mansion itself seemed to absorb the scene, every polished surface reflecting the quiet miracle unfolding, the distant hum of the city blending with the faint ticking of the grandfather clock, marking the passage of slow, deliberate seconds. Jasmine shifted slightly, tilting her head and adjusting her posture to maintain a balance of proximity and comfort, guiding Liam without intrusion, his fingers following her motion, brushing lightly across the weighted blanket, small adjustments of his own that mirrored her instructions, a faint curve forming at the corner of his lips as the first true sign of calm emerged. Edward's stern expression softened, the warmth of recognition spreading across his chest as he saw the effect of steady patience, the faintest flicker of a smile appearing in his eyes as he observed the transformation taking place. The mansion's expansive space now feeling intimate, cocooning the trio in a moment of fragile trust and quiet awe. Jasmine's brown eyes remained locked on Liam's face, reading every subtle change in expression, responding with gentle encouragement, each movement precise yet imbued with empathy, guiding without coercion, allowing him to explore the safe space she created, the sunlight shifting slowly, casting longer shadows and highlighting the texture of the blanket, the curvature of Liam's hands, the careful positioning of Jasmine's posture, a visual symphony of patience and attention, Liam's chest rising and falling more evenly, a small inhale followed by a soft exhale. The movement mirrored almost imperceptibly in Jasmine's own breathing, the rhythmic coordination creating a shared pulse, a silent communication of safety and understanding. Edward leaned slightly forward, observing the alignment of trust forming between the two. Every subtle adjustment, every faint blink, every careful placement of hands registering in his mind. A recognition that the smallest, quietest acts could have the most profound impact. Jasmine's slight motion to encourage Liam to shift his weight, bringing his back against the support of the chair, executed with care and precision, allowing him to feel grounded while maintaining autonomy. The ambient light reflecting across his features, highlighting a tentative smile as his shoulders relaxed further, fingers resting naturally on the folds of the blanket. Edward's chest rose with a deep inhale, the warmth of awe and gratitude unfolding within him. The mansion's sound seemingly fading into a soft background hum, leaving only the delicate cadence of Jasmine's guiding voice, the measured exhalation of Liam, and the subtle rhythm of trust taking form. The scene imbued with cinematic clarity as light, shadow, and subtle motion converged, every detail reinforcing the fragile, yet growing bond. Jasmine's soft murmurs continuing to guide, encouraging Liam to notice his own steady breathing, his slight movements reinforcing the progress achieved. The mansion's grand hallways framing a quiet tableau of care and patient attention. Edward's gaze fixed, lips pressed together as he watched, a slow smile beginning to form, understanding the significance of the connection being forged, the warmth of human empathy manifesting through presence, guidance, and subtle, deliberate action. The sunlight shifting again, long shafts cutting across the floor, accentuating every nuanced gesture. Every small shift in Liam's posture, the soft curve of his lips, the gentle inclination of Jasmine's head, all coalescing into a single, continuous moment of quiet transformation. The mansion's expanse now, seemingly intimate, a cocoon of focused attention, light, and trust, leaving Edward poised at the stairwell, captivated by the silent miracle of calm, connection, and the early stirrings of hope and understanding unfolding in this shared space. The warm glow of the late afternoon sun deepened, casting long shadows across the polished hardwood floors and marble inlays of the mansion as Jasmine Turner guided Liam Parker to a small, comfortable armchair near the corner, her hands lightly hovering above his shoulders, ready to offer reassurance without intrusion. The faint lavender scent from her pocket lingering subtly in the air, blending with the clean aroma of polished wood and the distant, soft patter of rain on the windows. Liam's small fingers pressed gently against the folds of the weighted blanket as he followed Jasmine's instructions, his breathing slow and deliberate, chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm that mirrored her guidance, his wide eyes gradually softening, tracing the patterns of light and shadow that shifted across the room, absorbing the warmth and calm around him. Edward Hawthorne remained at the top of the stairs, body tense but eyes focused, noticing every small gesture, every subtle movement that communicated trust and progress. The soft hum of the heating system blending with the distant city sounds, creating a layered backdrop of quiet anticipation. Jasmine's voice remained low and steady, each word measured and deliberate. "We are going to take it slow, Liam. Just follow my hands and breathe," she said, demonstrating the motion of placing his hands over the blanket and moving them in small, controlled circles, his small body following her example, fingers curling and uncurling. In response, shoulders relaxing further, eyelids fluttering as he absorbed her instructions. Edward's chest rose and fell more visibly now, warmth spreading through his stern posture as he recognized the subtle transformation occurring before him. Jasmine shifted slightly, adjusting her posture to maintain a gentle, comforting presence, guiding Liam without overstepping, her movements precise yet soft, her gaze locked on his face, observing the smallest signs of recognition and trust. The light from the east-facing windows slanting across the room, highlighting the textures of the blanket, the contours of Liam's small frame, the delicate curves of Jasmine's expression, the chandeliers above casting fractured reflections on the polished floors, emphasizing the calm, almost cinematic atmosphere of the scene. Liam's breathing deepened further, a small exhale escaping, as he followed the gentle rhythm of Jasmine's instructions, lips parting slightly, the first tentative smiles appearing as he responded to her patient guidance. Edward's eyes softened, the subtle curve of his lips revealing the awe and warmth spreading through him. the mansion's expansive space now intimate, enveloping the trio in a cocoon of stillness, focus, and delicate trust. Jasmine's hands shifted lightly, demonstrating a series of slow, deliberate movements for Liam to follow, his fingers tracing along the folds of the blanket, his body gradually aligning with her guidance. The faint ambient noise fading as the quiet concentration of the room took precedence, the soft ticking of the grandfather clock marking the passage of measured, meaningful seconds, Liam's small body relaxing, shoulders dropping, hands resting naturally on the weighted blanket, eyes lifting to meet Jasmine's gaze with a growing glimmer of confidence and comfort, Edward leaning slightly forward on the stair, absorbing the unfolding scene, the warmth in his chest deepening, a sense of awe and gratitude building as he witnessed the quiet miracle of patience, guidance, and care, Jasmine's subtle nods and soft murmurs reinforcing trust and providing reassurance, the sunlight shifting gradually, painting the room with warm, soft tones, shadows elongating, emphasizing the intimacy and depth of the moment. Every small gesture from Jasmine, every slight movement from Liam, every flicker of recognition and connection between them resonated in the quiet space, the polished floors reflecting the light in fractured patterns that danced across Liam's face and Jasmine's uniform. Capturing the delicate interplay of shadow and illumination, Edward's stern posture softened, a slow, tentative smile forming as he watched the boy respond, the mansion itself seeming to embrace the moment, cocooning them in an atmosphere of gentle focus, calm, and the fragile, yet growing bond, Jasmine's voice, continuing to guide him, each word a measured, steady current of encouragement, Liam responding instinctively, subtle movements of acknowledgement and trust building a bridge between them, light and shadow accentuating every micro-expression, every nuanced shift in posture, every measured inhale and exhale, the rhythm of connection growing, the room a tableau of quiet transformation, the mansion expansive yet intimate, the warmth of human empathy manifesting in each gesture, each careful placement of hands, each soft breath. Edward poised at the top of the stairs, captivated by the unfolding quiet miracle, the moment rich with anticipation, subtle progress, and the early stirrings of hope, trust, and calm, leaving the space charged with the possibility of profound transformation. Every detail from the shifting sunlight to the soft texture of the blanket reinforcing the cinematic clarity of the intimate scene, the gentle guidance of Jasmine, the tentative engagement of Liam, and the observant, softened presence of Edward creating a continuous, delicate, and emotionally resonant rhythm that filled the mansion with stillness, light, and the quiet power of patient care. The soft afternoon light deepened into a warm amber as Jasmine Turner guided Liam Parker to the center of the room, her movements deliberate, steady, and careful, hands hovering lightly to provide reassurance without intrusion, the polished hardwood floors reflecting fractured light from the chandelier above, casting intricate patterns that danced across the boy's small frame and the folds of the weighted blanket, the faint scent of lavender lingering in the air mingling with the clean aroma of polished wood and distant city rain. Liam's fingers traced the blanket's texture, curling and uncurling as he mirrored Jasmine's deliberate motions, each small inhale and exhale becoming steadier and more controlled, his eyes following her movements. Glimmering with tentative trust, Edward Hawthorne remained at the top of the stairs, body tense but attentive, watching every subtle gesture, every delicate adjustment in posture, the quiet hum of the mansion settling into a hushed reverence as if the space itself were bearing witness to the unfolding scene. Jasmine shifted slightly, guiding Liam's hands through gentle, measured motions across the blanket, the rhythm of her breath steady and calm, a current of reassurance that carried through the room, his small body responding, shoulders relaxing, chest rising and falling in harmony with her, eyes tracking her every movement. The sunlight slanting through the tall windows creating a soft halo around them, the polished floors capturing fractured reflections that highlighted the careful, precise choreography of trust and guidance. Jasmine's brown eyes locked on Liam, reading every micro-expression, subtle twitch, and flicker of recognition, responding with soft murmurs of encouragement, her voice low, calm, and deliberate. "You are doing perfectly, Liam," she said, demonstrating a slow, controlled movement for him to copy. The boy's lips parting in a small exhale as he followed, a faint smile emerging, shoulders lowering. Further as tension ebbed away, Edward's stern gaze softened, chest rising with a slow inhale, the warmth of awe and appreciation spreading through him as he observed the quiet miracle of patience, care, and gentle guidance. The mansion expansive yet intimate, wrapping the trio in a cocoon of stillness and focused attention. Jasmine adjusted her posture slightly, tilting her head to signal subtle encouragement, guiding Liam without overstepping, allowing him to explore the safe space she created, his fingers tracing the blanket, body leaning in response to her gentle cues, a small curve forming at the corner of his mouth as the first authentic smile emerged, eyes lifting to meet hers with a flicker of trust, the chandelier above reflecting light across the polished floor and Liam's frame, highlighting the delicate choreography of subtle gestures and responsive movement. Edward leaning forward slightly, observing the small but profound moments of progress, the warmth in his chest deepening as he witnessed the unfolding trust, Jasmine's soft, consistent murmurs creating a rhythm that Liam followed instinctively, the mansion's ambient sounds fading, replaced by the synchronized cadence of controlled breathing and gentle motion, the sunlight shifting gradually, casting long, warm streaks across the floors, emphasizing the intimacy of the space and the quiet miracle occurring. Liam's chest rising and falling in time with Jasmine's steady guidance, small movements of acknowledgement forming a bridge of understanding. The mansion enveloping them in a serene cocoon of light, shadow, and presence, every nuanced motion, every tiny expression contributing to a tapestry of patience and connection, Jasmine's hands hovering, demonstrating measured movements, Liam responding with delicate adjustments, eyes brightening, lips curving slightly, shoulders aligning with the rhythm she set. Edward's eyes softened, a tentative smile forming as he observed, the mansion expansive yet cocooning the moment in quiet focus, the ambient light accentuating every micro-gesture, every careful placement of hands, every small inhalation and exhalation, the quiet miracle of connection, patience, and empathy filling the room with warmth, leaving Edward poised at the stairwell, captivated by the unfolding scene, the delicate rhythm of trust and guidance building, the mansion bathed in soft light and gentle shadow, a tableau of human care, understanding, and the subtle but profound impact of consistent, gentle presence, each detail harmonizing to form a cinematic moment of calm, trust, and the quiet power of patient, compassionate guidance unfolding before his eyes. The late afternoon sunlight softened into a warm, honeyed glow that filtered through the tall east-facing windows, illuminating the polished hardwood floors and marble accents, casting long, gentle shadows that stretched across Liam Parker's small form as he remained seated with the weighted blanket draped lightly across his shoulders, his fingers tracing the folds with a tentative curiosity, chest rising and falling in a rhythm that began to mirror Jasmine Turner's own measured breathing, her hands hovering just above his back, offering reassurance without intrusion. The faint lavender scent from her pocket mingling with the clean aroma of polished wood and the distant hint of rain carried in from the city streets. Every micro-movement of Liam's shoulders, every slight shift in posture carefully observed by Jasmine as she guided him through another series of slow, deliberate motions, demonstrating how to adjust his hands gently over the blanket, his small frame responding, fingers curling and uncurling with a growing awareness of the steady presence beside him. The mansion quiet except for the soft hum of the heating system and the subtle creak of floorboards. Beneath Jasmine's careful steps, Edward Hawthorne remained at the top of the stairs, body tense yet attentive, eyes fixed on the tableau below, noticing the smallest nuances, the subtle curves of Liam's mouth as a tentative smile emerged, the delicate lift of eyelids as trust began to flicker across his features, the mansion seemingly suspended in a fragile equilibrium of anticipation and calm. Jasmine's brown eyes followed every detail, adjusting her posture and weight to maintain a gentle, grounding presence, speaking in low, measured tones. "Breathe with me, Liam, in and out slowly." her words like a gentle current that carried reassurance, allowing him to align his breathing with hers. The boy's chest rising and falling more evenly, shoulders relaxing further, eyes brightening slightly as he engaged with her guidance. The polished floors capturing the soft reflections of light and shadow, emphasizing the subtle choreography of trust and response. Edward leaning forward, a slow, deep inhale marking the growing warmth in his chest, the soft curl of his lips betraying awe and admiration. The mansion's expansive space now intimate, the quiet presence of Jasmine creating a cocoon in which the fragile bond between caregiver and child could unfold. Liam's small body, responding instinctively to her rhythm, subtle movements of fingers over the blanket, slight inclinations of his head in acknowledgement of her instructions, soft exhalations releasing tension, the sun's light, slanting across the room, illuminating each careful gesture, every nuanced expression, the interplay of shadow and warmth accentuating the cinematic quality of the moment. Jasmine shifting slightly to maintain proximity and balance, allowing him to feel secure while encouraging autonomy. Each of her subtle nods and murmured words reinforcing connection and trust, the mansion's ambient sounds fading into the background as focus narrowed onto the gentle interaction. The quiet tick of the grandfather clock marking the measured seconds. Liam's lips parting in small, controlled exhales, eyes meeting Jasmine's with fleeting glimmers of comprehension, small smiles forming. The first authentic displays of engagement and calm. Edward's gaze softened, chest rising and falling in a slow, deliberate rhythm. Recognition of the profound impact of quiet guidance and patience settling in. Jasmine's voice continuing its low, consistent cadence, the gentle sway of her hands guiding Liam's own. The mansion's architecture framing a tableau of presence, empathy, and trust, sunlight shifting, gradually, casting warm streaks across floor and walls, highlighting every microexpression, every nuanced gesture, the subtle interaction forming a delicate symphony of care and connection, the expansive room now intimate, enveloping the trio in light, shadow, and quiet emotion. Every subtle inhale, every careful motion, every flicker of trust contributing to a cinematic moment of transformation. Liam's small body gradually aligning more confidently with Jasmine's guidance, shoulders settling, hands resting naturally, eyes reflecting recognition, understanding, and the soft stirrings of trust. Edward at the stairwell captivated, the warmth of human empathy filling him with quiet awe, the mansion itself embracing the stillness, light, and trust, a delicate rhythm of connection, presence, and gentle guidance carrying through the expansive space, leaving the scene suspended in a moment of profound calm, subtle joy, and nascent hope, every detail harmonizing to create a continuous, emotionally resonant narrative that lingered in the light, the shadows, and the quiet breaths of all three present. The soft amber light of the late afternoon stretched across the polished floors of the mansion, illuminating the quiet interaction between Jasmine Turner and Liam Parker, her hands hovering gently above his shoulders, providing guidance without touch, the faint scent of lavender mingling with the warm aroma of polished wood, Liam's small fingers exploring the folds of the weighted blanket, curling and uncurling as he followed Jasmine's steady instructions, breathing deep and slow, chest rising, and falling in rhythm with her calm voice. Each measured inhale and exhale a small victory of trust, his wide eyes tracing the patterns of light and shadow on the floor, following her subtle movements. Edward Hawthorne watched intently from the top of the staircase, hands resting lightly on the railing, suit crisp, posture taut, yet softened by a growing warmth in his chest, noticing the micro-expressions, the smallest gestures, the tentative flickers of comprehension crossing Liam's face, the mansion's ambient noise fading into a quiet hum, replaced by the synchronized rhythm of patient guidance and responsive motion. Jasmine tilted her head slightly, her brown eyes soft but focused, encouraging him with low, steady words. "That is perfect. Liam, keep going, just like that." And Liam's lips parted in a small, controlled exhale, shoulders relaxing further, chest rising with steadier motion, the gentle shifts of his hands tracing the blanket's texture as he mirrored her deliberate movements. The sunlight from the east-facing windows casting long, warm streaks across the room, highlighting every subtle curve of his expression and the careful, poised presence of Jasmine. Edward's gaze softened as he absorbed the quiet miracle unfolding before him. The mansion's expansive interior now feeling intimate, a cocoon of light, shadow, and the fragile formation of trust. Jasmine's hands moved subtly to demonstrate another slow, deliberate motion, Liam following instinctively. Small adjustments of his posture and hands signaling growing confidence and engagement. The faint tick of the grandfather clock, marking each deliberate second as the scene unfolded. The polished floors reflecting fractured patterns of light across Liam's face, the folds of the blanket, and Jasmine's uniform, accentuating the precise choreography of presence and response. The boy's breathing aligning more perfectly with Jasmine's, a small exhale escaping, lips curving into a fleeting but genuine smile, eyes lifting to meet hers in a flicker of recognition. Edward leaning forward slightly on the stair, chest rising and falling in measured rhythm, the warmth in his body expanding with awe and quiet admiration. The mansion enveloping them in soft shadows and golden light, every nuance of movement, expression, and breath contributing to a cinematic tableau of patient guidance and emerging trust. Jasmine's voice continuing in low, steady cadences, instructing, encouraging, guiding without rush. Her subtle nods and gentle murmurs reinforcing Liam's progress, his small body moving in subtle harmony with her rhythm. Shoulders dropping, hands resting lightly, the small flicker of understanding growing into calm engagement, sunlight shifting slowly, highlighting the textures of the blanket, the subtle arcs of Liam's fingers, the poised balance of Jasmine's posture, every detail resonating with the quiet power of human connection. Edward observing, slowly realizing the profound impact of consistent, patient presence, a tentative smile forming, warmth spreading across his features, the mansion expansive yet intimate, wrapping them in a cocoon of calm, focus, and trust, the gentle interplay of light, shadow, breath, and movement crafting a rich cinematic rhythm. Liam's small form gradually relaxing, shoulders settling, hands resting naturally, eyes brightening, lips curving softly, the rhythm of trust and guidance weaving an unspoken dialogue between Jasmine and the boy. Edward's eyes following each microexpression, every subtle inhale and exhale, a tableau of emerging understanding and empathy forming in the soft, golden glow. The mansion itself absorbing the quiet miracle, shadows stretching across polished floors, light catching the delicate details of each gesture, each glance, each responsive motion, leaving the room suspended in a delicate, emotionally resonant moment, filled with anticipation, subtle progress, and the quiet wonder of patient, compassionate guidance unfolding into a deep, tentative trust that promised transformation. The mansion seemed to hold its breath as Jasmine Turner stood beside Liam Parker, her presence steady and calm, hands hovering near his shoulders to provide guidance without intrusion. The polished hardwood floors reflecting fractured sunlight that slanted through the tall, east-facing windows, casting intricate patterns across the room. The faint scent of lavender mingling with the warmth of clean wood and the distant hum of the city beyond. Liam's fingers rested lightly on the folds of the weighted blanket, curling and uncurling as he followed Jasmine's slow, deliberate instructions, chest rising and falling with measured breaths, eyes tracking her subtle motions, a tentative trust flickering across his features. Edward Hawthorne leaned forward from the top of the staircase, body tense yet attentive, eyes fixed on the quiet interaction unfolding below, noticing each nuanced gesture, each microexpression that revealed comprehension and calm. The ambient sounds of the mansion, fading into a soft, serene hum, replaced by the synchronized rhythm of Jasmine's low, steady voice and Liam's measured breathing, her words deliberate and soothing. "Keep following me, Liam, just like this," guiding his small hands over the blanket in gentle arcs, the subtle coordination creating a quiet but tangible bridge of trust, the sunlight shifting gradually across the polished floors, highlighting the contours of Liam's small frame, the folds of the blanket, and the careful poise of Jasmine's posture, the chandeliers above casting fractured reflections that danced across the room. emphasizing the cinematic quality of the moment. Liam's shoulders relaxed further, chest rising and falling in harmony with Jasmine's gentle rhythm, lips curving in a faint, tentative smile, eyes lifting to meet hers in fleeting acknowledgement. Edward's stern expression softened, warmth spreading across his chest as he observed the effect of patience, empathy, and unwavering presence. The mansion's expansive space feeling intimate, cocooning them in a bubble of quiet focus, light, and shadow. Jasmine adjusting her posture slightly, tilting her head to encourage Liam without rushing, guiding him through another sequence of subtle, deliberate motions, small shifts in weight, gentle rotations of his hands over the blanket, the boy responding instinctively, a visible lightening of tension in his body, the soft tick of the grandfather clock marking measured seconds, the mansion enveloped in a serene rhythm of trust and subtle motion, the ambient light capturing fractured reflections that danced across Liam's face, the folds of the blanket, and Jasmine's uniform, accentuating each nuanced gesture, each careful adjustment, the interplay of shadow and illumination framing the developing bond, Liam's breathing aligning more fully with Jasmine's, each small exhale releasing lingering tension, eyes brightening with growing awareness, lips forming a subtle, authentic smile, shoulders settling comfortably into a more relaxed posture. The mansion quiet except for the soft sounds of synchronized movement, the delicate rhythm of connection, presence, and empathy forming a cinematic tableau. Edward's gaze fixed, leaning forward slightly, chest rising and falling in sync with the quiet pulse of trust developing below, warmth spreading across his face as he witnessed the subtle miracle of patient guidance. Jasmine's hands continuing to demonstrate slow, controlled movements, fingers hovering near Liam's to guide without touching, her soft, low murmurs carrying reassurance and steady focus. Liam responding intuitively, micro adjustments of posture, small smiles, flickers of trust and understanding. The late sunlight bathing the room in warm tones, long shadows stretching across polished floors, every detail contributing to the quiet power of presence, patience, and gentle guidance. The mansion expansive yet intimate, light and shadow framing a delicate, emotionally resonant moment, the rhythm of breath, movement, and micro-expression building, creating a continuous, fluid narrative of calm, connection, and subtle transformation. Edward captivated, aware of the profound significance of this unfolding trust, every nuance of gesture, expression, and quiet motion, resonating in the serene space, leaving the room suspended in a cinematic stillness, filled with light, shadow, and the gentle power of empathy, presence, and understanding that promised the continuation of transformation beyond this precise moment. The soft light of the evening shifted, spilling golden hues across the polished floors and marble accents of the mansion. Jasmine Turner guiding Liam Parker with a steady, patient hand, her presence calm and unwavering, hands hovering lightly above his shoulders to provide reassurance without intrusion, the faint scent of lavender mixing with the warmth of polished wood and the subtle residual aroma of rain from outside. Liam's small fingers tracing the folds of the weighted blanket, chest, rising and falling in a measured rhythm, eyes focused on Jasmine's gentle gestures, a tentative trust forming with each deliberate motion. Edward Hawthorne observing from the top of the staircase, posture tense, yet softened by a growing warmth in his chest, eyes following every nuanced microexpression, every subtle shift of Liam's posture, every small movement that signaled comprehension and emerging calm. The mansion quiet except for the soft hum of the heating system and the distant sounds of the city fading into the background, Jasmine tilting her head slightly, eyes locking on Liam's, guiding him through a series of slow, controlled motions, her voice low, deliberate, steady. Follow the movement of my hands, Liam, match my rhythm, she said, demonstrating gentle arcs over the folds of the blanket, his small body responding instinctively, shoulders relaxing further, hands curling and uncurling in a synchronized dance with hers, light from the tall east-facing windows reflecting across the floor, emphasizing the contours of Liam's form, the folds of the blanket, and Jasmine's composed posture, chandeliers above casting fractured light that highlighted the subtleties of the moment. Liam's lips parting in a soft exhale, a small, genuine smile flickering across his face as comprehension and trust deepened. Edward's stern expression softened, warmth and awe spreading through him, the mansion expansive yet intimate, cocooning them in a moment of quiet focus and fragile trust. Jasmine adjusting her weight subtly, tilting her head and shifting her hands to maintain a balanced presence, guiding Liam without intrusion, each motion deliberate, measured, and gentle, his fingers following hers, tracing the fabric, body leaning slightly in response, soft exhalations releasing tension, the sunlight slanting further, casting long shadows across the polished floors, highlighting every subtle gesture and nuanced expression, the mansion absorbing the scene into a cinematic tableau, every detail of the interaction, the rise and fall of Liam's chest, the careful positioning of Jasmine's hands, the flicker of recognition in the boy's eyes, imbuing the room with a sense of profound, quiet wonder. Edward leaning forward, eyes fixed on the boy and his guide, chest rising and falling in a slow rhythm, a smile forming as he understood the depth of patience and care manifesting before him. Jasmine's soft, steady voice continuing to encourage, every subtle motion reinforcing the bond forming. Liam responding instinctively, small adjustments of posture, delicate movements of hands, subtle smiles emerging, a fragile but growing trust. The mansion's architecture framing the scene with fractured light, warm shadows, and polished reflections that emphasize the delicate interplay of guidance and response. Sunlight shifting gradually, highlighting textures, contours, and the gentle choreography of trust, the ambient sounds fading, leaving only the synchronized rhythm of breathing, subtle motion, and quiet exhalations. Liam's small frame settling into a comfortable, calm posture, eyes brightening, lips curving softly, shoulders relaxed, every movement reflecting growing awareness and engagement. Edward captivated, chest warming with awe, the profound impact of steady, patient guidance and human empathy evident, the room cocooned in light, shadow, and the delicate rhythm of trust. Jasmine's presence steady and unwavering, every small gesture, every micro-expression, every measured breath contributing to the cinematic moment, a continuous flow of calm, connection, and subtle transformation. The mansion expansive yet intimate, the scene suspended in a delicate, emotionally resonant tableau of understanding, trust, and the quiet power of consistent, compassionate guidance, leaving all three present enveloped in a profound stillness, light, and shadow that promised the unfolding of transformation beyond this moment. The golden light of the early evening filtered softly through the tall east-facing windows, casting long, warm streaks across the polished hardwood floors and marble inlays, highlighting the delicate movements of Jasmine Turner as she guided Liam Parker to a comfortable spot near the window, her hands hovering just above his shoulders, offering presence and reassurance without intrusion. The faint scent of lavender mingling with the clean aroma of polished wood and the residual coolness of rain. From outside, Liam's fingers traced the folds of the weighted blanket, curling and uncurling with growing confidence, chest rising and falling in steady rhythm, eyes following Jasmine's careful movements with a flicker of understanding and trust. Edward Hawthorne leaned slightly forward from the top of the staircase, eyes fixed, body relaxed yet attentive, noticing every micro-expression, every subtle shift in posture. The mansion quiet except for the soft hum of the heating system and distant city sounds. Jasmine's low, steady voice guiding him through gentle motions. Now, Liam, we will practice small movements with your hands, slow and easy, demonstrating arcs over the folds of the blanket, her motions, deliberate, controlled, yet imbued with warmth. Liam responding instinctively, adjusting his posture, following the gentle rhythm, shoulders relaxing, lips parting in a soft exhale, eyes brightening with recognition, a tentative smile forming as comprehension deepened, sunlight slanting through the windows highlighting the contours of his small frame, the folds of the blanket, and the poised presence of Jasmine. Chandeliers above casting fractured reflections on the polished floors, emphasizing the subtle choreography of trust and guidance. Liam's chest rising and falling in sync with Jasmine's instructions, each gentle inhale and exhale reinforcing a fragile but growing bond. Edward's eyes softened, warmth spreading through him as he observed the quiet miracle of patience and steady guidance. The mansion expansive yet intimate, enveloping them in a cocoon of light, shadow, and quiet focus. Jasmine tilting her head slightly, adjusting her posture to maintain balance and comfort, encouraging Liam without forcing, allowing him to explore a safe space, subtle adjustments in her hands demonstrating patterns for him to mirror, the boy's small fingers following with delicate movements, a visible easing of tension, small exhalations releasing lingering uncertainty, the sunlight shifting gradually, casting long warm tones across the room, accentuating every nuanced gesture, every microexpression. The mansion itself absorbing the quiet moment, creating a cinematic tableau of trust, patience, and empathy. Jasmine's voice continuing its low, steady cadence, guiding, reinforcing, encouraging, Liam responding instinctively, small posture shifts, gentle movements of his hands, lips curving softly, eyes lifting to meet hers in flickers of connection, the polished floors reflecting fractured beams of sunlight, highlighting the delicate interplay of movement, shadow, and light. Edward leaning forward slightly, chest rising and falling in measured rhythm, absorbing the subtle miracle of attentive guidance. The mansion's expanse now intimate, a cocoon of calm and connection, the rhythmic pulse of synchronized breath and motion carrying through the space. Every detail, the folds of the blanket, the careful positioning of hands, the subtle arc of fingers, the gentle inhalation and exhalation, the slight smiles, the tentative trust, contributing to a cinematic tableau of growing understanding and bond. Liam's body settling, shoulders dropping, chest steady, fingers resting naturally on the blanket, eyes reflecting comprehension, the soft stirrings of confidence, Jasmine's presence unwavering, guiding with empathy and patient care, Edward captivated, warmth and awe spreading through him. The mansion wrapping the scene in quiet intimacy, light and shadow framing every micro-gesture, every nuanced expression, every deliberate motion, creating a continuous, fluid narrative of trust, connection, and subtle transformation, leaving the room suspended in a delicate, emotionally resonant moment that promised the continuation of growth, calm, and understanding beyond this evening. The soft amber light bathing Liam and Jasmine, highlighting the careful choreography of guidance, the quiet unfolding of patience, and the profound impact of presence, empathy, and unwavering attentiveness in shaping a moment of trust that resonated through the mansion and into the hearts of those witnessing. The evening sun had dipped lower, casting long, soft shadows that stretched across the polished hardwood floors and marble accents of the mansion, highlighting the final scene unfolding between Jasmine Turner and Liam Parker, her hands hovering gently above his small shoulders, steady and calm, offering reassurance without touching, the faint scent of lavender lingering in the air, mingling with the warm aroma of polished wood and distant traces of city rain. Liam's fingers lightly tracing the folds of the weighted blanket, chest rising and falling in an even, steady rhythm, eyes following Jasmine's subtle, deliberate movements with a growing sense of trust and awareness, the soft glow of the remaining sunlight catching the contours of his small frame and illuminating the careful poise of Jasmine's posture. Edward Hawthorne stood at the top of the staircase, suit impeccable, eyes softened, chest rising slowly with warmth and awe as he absorbed every micro-expression, every nuanced motion that conveyed patience, empathy, and connection. The mansion's ambient sounds fading into a gentle hush, leaving only the synchronized rhythm of Jasmine's low, steady voice and Liam's controlled breathing. That is excellent, Liam, just like that, she murmured, guiding his hands through a final series of gentle motions over the blanket, his fingers following, small, precise, each movement a reflection of his growing confidence and engagement. The sunlight from the east-facing windows, shifting, casting long, fractured patterns across the polished floor, highlighting the subtle choreography of trust, every gesture, every flicker of comprehension forming a cinematic tableau of patient guidance and emerging calm. Liam's shoulders relaxed completely, chest rising and falling with a steady ease, lips curving into a full, tentative smile, eyes lifting to meet Jasmine's with the faintest glimmer of recognition, understanding, and trust. Edward leaning forward slightly, hands resting lightly on the railing, observing the quiet miracle, warmth spreading through him as he recognized the transformative power of presence, patience, and empathy. The mansion expansive yet intimate, wrapping them in light, shadow, and stillness. The soft ticking of the grandfather clock marking each deliberate second. Jasmine shifting subtly, tilting her head, maintaining a balanced presence, hands demonstrating gentle arcs for Liam to mirror, guiding without imposing, allowing him autonomy within the safety she created. His small body responding instinctively, movements aligning, chest rising and falling in harmony, eyes brightening, fingers curling and uncurling over the folds of the blanket. The mansion absorbing the scene, light dancing across polished surfaces, emphasizing each nuance of gesture and expression. The faint hum of distant city life and ambient heating systems fading further into the background as the room focused entirely on this delicate, intimate exchange. The synchronization of breath, motion, and attention creating a rhythm that resonated through the space. Every flicker of trust, every subtle nod of acknowledgement forming a continuous, fluid narrative of connection and care. Sunlight now soft and golden bathing Liam and Jasmine, highlighting every curve, every micro-gesture, every subtle rise and fall of their chests. Edward captivated, chest rising and falling with the quiet rhythm, aware of the profound significance of steady guidance and the trust that had formed. The mansion framing the moment in warm light and elongated shadows, every polished surface, reflecting the careful choreography of empathy and presence. Liam's body fully relaxed, small smile steady, hands resting naturally on the weighted blanket, eyes reflecting understanding and calm. Jasmine's posture composed, presence unwavering, guiding with gentle authority and empathy. The room suspended in a serene, cinematic stillness, light and shadow intertwining with the quiet rhythm of breaths and small movements. The mansion expansive yet intimate, the scene now a cocoon of trust, patience, and the subtle power of compassionate guidance, leaving Edward, Jasmine, and Liam enveloped in a moment that felt complete yet suspended, a fragile, resonant tableau of connection, understanding, and the quiet triumph of empathy, presence, and human care. The final shafts of sunlight stretching across the floor, warm and soft, capturing the calm, trust, and gentle transformation that had unfolded, leaving the room imbued with stillness, reflection, and the quiet promise of continued growth and connection.